You've probably heard this idea before, right? That you're only 6 handshakes away from anyone else on the entire planet. It sounds kind of crazy. The idea that you could be connected to, I don't know, your favorite celebrity or a world leader in just a few steps. But with 8 billion of us on this planet, how could that possibly be true? And more importantly, what does that incredible connection actually mean for us? Well, let's dive in and unpack this. So, here's where we're headed. First, we're going to tackle the big paradox at the heart of it all. Then, we'll look at the clever solutions our world has for connecting everyone, like shortcuts and hubs. After that, we'll get into the real-world consequences, the good and the bad. And we'll finish up by looking at the power that you yourself have in all of this. All right, so the whole idea just feels wrong, doesn't it? I mean, think about your own life. Most of your friends probably live pretty close to you. And chances are, a lot of your friends also know each other. Our social circles feel really local, really clustered together. So how on earth do these little local bubbles connect us to the entire globe in just a handful of steps? Okay, check this out. Back in 1999, a German newspaper ran this amazing experiment. They tried to connect a falafel salesman, this guy Salah Bengali, to his favorite actor, Marlon Brando. And they did it in exactly 6 steps. It's this wild chain of connections that bridges 2 completely different worlds. And you know what? This isn't just a one-off thing. It's a pattern that shows up again and again. And this is where the real puzzle is. See, if our friends were just scattered randomly all over the world, the math is actually pretty simple. You'd reach the whole planet in about 5 steps. But that's not how we live. We live in this clustered network over on the right, where our friends are local and our circles overlap. Common sense tells us the degrees of separation should be huge. And when I say huge, I mean massive. If the world was perfectly clustered where you only knew your immediate neighbors, it would take on average 40 million steps to connect 2 people. 40 million. That's a universe away from 6. So, what is going on here? What's the missing piece? This is where 2 mathematicians, Duncan Watts and Steve Strogatz, step into the picture in the 90s. They were obsessed with this problem and figured there had to be some kind of elegant, simple solution hiding right under our noses. And they found it. They called it a shortcut. A shortcut is just a connection to someone totally outside your usual group. You know, maybe it's that friend you play online chess with who lives in another country, or someone you met on vacation once. These people act like a bridge, a secret tunnel from your little cluster to a completely different one, way across the network. Their big aha moment came from a computer simulation. So a perfectly ordered network took about 50 steps to get across, but then they rewired just 1% of the connections, just a tiny fraction, to be random shortcuts. And what happened? The average number of steps plummeted down to just 10. A few shortcuts make the whole world shrink. It's incredible. And what's really interesting is that these shortcuts, they're usually what sociologists call our weak ties. They aren't our best friends, they're our acquaintances. And it turns out these weak ties are super valuable. They're often how you hear about a new job, for instance, because they plug you into worlds and information totally outside your normal day-to-day bubble. But shortcuts are not the whole story. Around the same time, a physicist named Albert Laszlo Barabasi was looking at the early internet, mapping it out, and he stumbled onto another powerful force that makes our world small. He found this simple rule he called preferential attachment. You can just think of it as the rich get richer effect. When a new person joins a social network, who are they most likely to follow? The people who already have tons of followers. This simple process naturally creates these massive super connectors, or hubs. And once you start looking for hubs, you see them everywhere. It's not just about people. Chicago O'Hare is a major hub for air travel. In the ocean, Atlantic cod are a hub in the food web. Even inside our own bodies, certain molecules are hubs for all kinds of chemical reactions. It's just a fundamental rule of how networks grow. So our world is small because of these 2 things, shortcuts and hubs. Okay, great. But what does that really mean for our lives? Well, this incredible connectivity is a total double-edged sword. It creates amazing efficiency, but also some terrifying fragility. Just look at how a disease spreads. In a simulation of a regular old clustered world, it took 73 days for an infection to get to everyone. But in a small world network, basically our world, it took only 26 days. That's a massive difference. Those shortcuts and hubs we talked about, they're like super highways for anything that spreads, whether it's good or bad. And that brings us to the network's Achilles heel. Those hubs make things run smoothly, but they're also a massive point of failure. If a big thunderstorm shuts down Chicago O'Hare, the problem doesn't just stay in Chicago. The delay ripples out and messes up air travel across the entire globe within hours. The very thing that connects us so well also makes us incredibly vulnerable. But here's where this story takes an even crazier turn. Maybe the most profound consequence of all this isn't about diseases or airport delays. It's about us. It's about our character. The very shape of our network can actually influence whether we act with kindness or with selfishness. To figure this out, scientists used a classic game theory puzzle called the prisoner's dilemma. The logic is pretty simple. No matter what the other person does, you personally do better if you act selfishly, if you defect. But if you both act selfishly, you both end up worse off than if you had just cooperated. It's his classic clash between what's best for you and what's best for the group. Now, here's the mind-blowing part. When they ran this game in a very clustered network, a little group of kind, cooperative people could survive and even spread their kindness. Familiarity bred trust. But then they took the exact same players and just rewired a few links to make it a small world network. And the cooperators got crushed. The random links to strangers made everyone act selfishly. The network's structure literally changed the moral character of the society. Now, I know, that sounds really bleak. It's like we're just puppets being controlled by the network we happen to be in. But don't worry, there is one final, crucial twist to the story that changes everything. The researchers ran the experiment one more time, but with a simple change. They let people choose their own connections. If someone was being a jerk and always defecting, other players could just say, you know what, I'm done with you, and cut the tie. The result? It was dramatic. As soon as people had the power to choose who they interacted with, cooperation flourished, no matter what the network looks like to begin with. And this leads to such an empowering idea. In a super-connected, small world, what one person does has more potential impact than ever before. Because ideas and behaviors can spread so fast and so far, one person deciding to be different, to cooperate, to be kind, to choose a better path, can genuinely start a ripple that grows into a wave. So, I guess the big takeaway is this. We aren't just passive dots in a giant network. Yes, the shape of our connections influences us in profound ways. But we, through our actions and our choices every single day, have the power to shape that very network in return. So the real question is, how are you going to shape yours?